Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Red Brothers Pod. I'm Victor,
No, I'm Alex.
and today we'll be discussing our 1-0 win at Anfield to Everton. So, definitely a great bounce back after the sort of poor form in recent weeks before the
Yeah,
break.
I mean, it's nearly even surprising after such a tough result in the cup final. And yeah, like you said, good bounce back in the Merseyside Derby, especially after last time around.
Yeah, the way that
The last game at Goodison.
the manner that we dropped points in at Goodison this season, it was horrible, and it was
Yeah.
great to see that it wasn't the officials that sort of decided the game again, even knowing clearly they were doing everything
Yeah.
in their power to make sure that's the
Yeah.
case. I think a good starting point would be that Tarkowski challenge, and I think that if you've ever looked at a football, played football, touched a football, you'll know that that's unacceptable,
Yeah.
and that's how players get injured for a really, really long time. And you can make a challenge and leave something on someone, but it can't be like that.
Mhm.
Like, if he's just scraped him, cool,
100%.
yeah, makes sense, no worries, not even a foul. But when your foot, the four studs in the middle of your foot, when those studs end up on someone's just under their kneecap, that's a horror challenge.
Yeah.
And I'm not usually like squeamish like when it comes to like blood or stuff like that, but I couldn't watch that challenge back.
Yeah.
After the
Yeah,
first time
I
I
agree.
saw it, I couldn't watch it anymore because it just cringed me out. Like, my legs started hurting
Yeah,
just from
yeah,
watching
yeah.
it. So, yeah, God knows how Tarkowski played 90 minutes, and obviously, he assists the goal that Beto has disallowed in the end as well. So, again, not only should he have been sent off if that goal goes to stand, we're 1-0 down from an assist from a player that shouldn't even be on the pitch. But
Yeah.
luckily it was offside, probably by about 3 centimetres.
Yeah,
but,
got lucky.
Yeah, definitely.
But well, the way I saw it, I saw that tackle and I saw he was giving it a yellow, sorry. And in my head, I had it exactly planned out how I thought the game was going to go. And I thought it's going to be exactly like the other Merseyside Derby, how all the other games where we've had tough decisions on us played out. So I thought it's going to be a really rough game. And it ended up being it ended up being a rougher game. However, it was more of a verdict where it was 11 versus 11, not 11 versus 12 to
But the thing-
decide our result.
But
You
I
know what
think
mean?
that, but I know, but even the minuscule decisions, which are 50-50s in the middle of the pitch, they always seem to go Everton's way. There was one where O'Reilly or O'Brien, like, he gets in front of Luis Diaz.
Yeah.
He puts his foot in between Diaz's legs and goes in with his body. Yeah, okay, he's used his body, but that's after he tripped him
Yeah.
up with his leg. And then they had a very similar one in our end, and Goy giving us a free kick right away, whereas on Jota, and Jota was saying the same thing. He was like, how come that over there wasn't a foul, but now this one is? And,
Yeah.
some of the decisions that were made yesterday were crazy.
Well,
I think another one I wanted to touch on was the Pickford one on Nunes. Again, it's
Yeah.
unacceptable. Your foot is landing on a man's kneecaps. When is that ever acceptable in football? And then Nunes gets a yellow card. It just doesn't make sense.
I understand the shout that it was after the whistle.
It doesn't.
However,
I know, but
it
this
still
is what I
happened on
mean.
the pitch.
So if the whistle goes, that means the players are no longer protected. Because it happened to Van Dijk
Yeah.
at Goodison. It was offside, so in theory it couldn't have been a red card. Doesn't matter that he snapped him in half. But is that what we're saying now?
But
That
in the
rule
logic,
is,
in logic, they can blow the whistle. I can go punch mate in the
Yeah,
face
that's what
over
I'm
there,
saying.
and it's fine. But it's not
because
how
the
it
ball,
works.
the ball was dead or the ball was out of play. It doesn't matter. Like you said, so now every time that the ball goes out for a throw-in, we're going to be seeing MMA fights on the pitch.
Exactly.
Because the ball's not in play, so we can't do anything. But you could book Nunes, so it just doesn't make sense to me. And again, it's reckless, it's dangerous,
Yeah.
and it's not controlled. All
Yeah.
three of them things are on the VAR checklist when it comes to decisions involving red cards or yellows. So they decide whether it was a controlled manner, which the Tarkowski or the Pickford one wasn't.
Yeah.
They then decide whether it was dangerous, which, again, both of them are. Your foot is landing. One of them, the foot plants under his knee. The other one, it just
Yeah.
brushes under his kneecap. But, again, it's still a dangerous situation, and it's reckless again, completely out of control, and it's just annoying to see because. Shout out to Callum if you're watching. I was talking to my friend Callum Reg yesterday, and he's had his leg broke, whilst playing 11 aside, and he was saying yesterday how watching that challenge was like, oh, what did he say? He said something to the lines of like it's just like it was just horrible for him to watch because of what he obviously went through. And then me and him spoke a bit further, and we mentioned like, what else do you need to do to like give a foul?
Yeah.
What did Tarkowski have to do? Did he have to break his leg? And then is that deemed as a red card offence only once the leg is broken? And this is what I mean. I don't understand how these players get protected, because they don't. We have a problem right now where players are playing every 3 days because Club World Cup, UEFA Nations League, Conference League, all these bullshit things that are unnecessary, and you know it's affecting the players' physical health. And on top of that, when you have referees that can't control a game, not only can they not control a game, they can't spot clear and obvious dangerous play. How are these players meant to get throughout their career without a leg break or some really serious injury? It's not common nowadays. Everyone's had a serious injury, and that's because of what's been going on.
And I've heard people arguing, he's hit the ball first. But if he's hit the ball first and got a yellow, that means it doesn't matter that he's got the ball first, because it was still a foul. So therefore, where's the fine line between a yellow and a red? And I also want to touch is, how are we letting PGMOL like still ruin the sport? Because they've publicly said, not publicly, I'm not sure, but I've heard reports where it was said where they even said it was a foul themselves.
Oh yeah. That was announced this morning. We got an official apology.
Yeah, well, finally.
Also, what else I want to say? Out of all the apologies made by the PGMOL officially, publicly, 24% of them have been to Liverpool. There's 20 teams in the league, and we've had 1/4 of all apologies.
That is crazy.
But think about it.
That is crazy.
Diaz at Tottenham, Odegaard at Anfield.
Yeah.
Again, now this
Jones
one.
red?
Yeah, Jones red, was that the Tottenham one? No, we didn't get an apology for the Jones red because he served the full 3-match ban. But
wait, what was the red card?
McAllister.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Again, same. So this is what I'm saying. It's ridiculous, and people like to go on about Liverpool and all of this bullshit. But watch the games. This is what. Please, if you're gonna comment some stupid bullshit on about Liverpool or any of this bullshit, please just take a minute to actually watch football. Like, I understand you see something on Twitter or on TikTok and it suits your agenda, so you go on about it. But watch a game of Liverpool for 90 minutes from the start to the end, and I promise you, if you come out of there with even a slight thought process of Liverpool, then you just shouldn't watch football. And again, countless times throughout the seasons, and even then, I look at the PGMOL apology from obviously themselves, and I go through some of the comments, and I'm seeing people there, like the fact that there was the fact in there about the apologies and the percentage of them that we've had, and someone comments, that's because teams that get bad decisions against Liverpool don't get apologies, and I'm sat there thinking, like, okay, yes, I'm sure on occasions we've gotten off with something, we've got a bit lucky, but we've never had a goal disallowed for the other team that was onside, like Diaz had. We've never had a player being a ballerina in our penalty box to give the opponent a penalty like Odegaard did. I've not seen a challenge like Tarkowski's from any of our players in God knows how many years. So you can argue this point all you want, but it's just complete bullshit. And if you actually watch the sport, because a lot of people don't, then you'll see what the problem is. And again, our dad is a good example. You know, he commonly complains about VAR decisions made against City, and you know, when you hear it, you're like, yeah, whatever. But then when you sit and watch the game through minute 1 to 90, and you're sitting there, and every decision that the referee makes is puzzling your brain because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And that's what really annoys me. And it's the lack of consistency throughout as well. Like, I remember Rice at the start of the season, he gets that red card versus Brighton at home for gently caressing the ball away.
Yeah.
And then Tarkowski does that, and it's not a red, and it's just like unbelievable. Another one,
Yeah.
Beto on Kelleher. He's offside by a mile. Kelleher comes out, claims the ball normally. Beto then tries to scissor kick, overhead kick it, completely misses the ball, and kicks Kelleher right in his forearm. He's a player on a yellow card. He was well aware that he was offside, because he was facing with his back to Kelleher, meaning the whole defence would have been in front of him, clearly notifying him he's offside. And he still attempted a fucking scissor kick, nearly kicked him in the head, and again, no second yellow offence. That's completely fine.
And what?
But I think back to...
It's okay, because it was a dead ball, so he's allowed to do that, of course.
But and I was thinking about back to sort of the derby at Goodison, and remember some of the yellow cards we were getting in that game. McAllister got one for absolutely nothing. There was a few other players that just got absolutely just the stupidest decisions against them. And then you're getting a matey that's kicked under his knee right here in Nunes, and you've got Kelleher who's been kicked right here, and all of that, no problem. We just accept it. But
yeah.
Anyways, I think we should probably talk about the game a little bit.
I just want to touch on one more thing, because I've been hearing fans complain that apparently Luis Diaz was offside in the build-up to the goal. But no, but the way I see it is that who was the player that was...
Bruno. I know what you're going to... Are you mentioning the United City?
No.
Oh, okay.
What I'm trying to mention is who...
Tarkowski. Who shouldn't have been on the pitch.
No, not even that, yeah. It's the fact that Luis Diaz is stood here, and Tarkowski stood here, and the ball's gone there, and he's gone out of his way, and he's slid to get the ball, and he's touched it. He hasn't fell over because Diaz has pushed him.
Yeah,
he's fell over because he's tried to reach the ball with a slide tackle.
But the thing is, if Diaz isn't behind him in an offside position, he just controls it and takes it. But because he sees Diaz behind him and he doesn't know if he's off or not, it forces him to jump in, and then that obviously gives us back possession. So I feel a bit... I can understand why, some people would complain. But then again, go back to United versus City in Ten Hag's first season, and the one where it was played over the defence to Bruno, who ran about 20 yards, like, around the ball but not touching it, and then Marcus Rashford ran on and just finished it. So it's happened before, it'll happen again. But to be fair, I did feel like... it was a bit unfortunate on Everton, because the reality is he only did make that challenge because Diaz was behind him, and if he wasn't behind him, he never gives the ball back to Jota.
That was my initial impression, but the more I watched it, the way I saw it is that he slid because he has to reach it because he was slightly out of his reach.
Yeah, I know, but if Diaz wasn't there, he could have just left it to go back to the keeper. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay, true.
He wouldn't have had to interfere if Diaz wasn't behind him. But because he was there, obviously things happen. So, again, look, wow, Liverpool fans can be honest about decisions and they're not chatting shit. But yeah, anyways, like I was saying, but yeah, we probably got lucky with that one. But then again, go back to the United game, it was given then, so keep the consistency, fair enough. I would probably be a bit annoyed if it went against us, but again, between that happening and the ball going in, there's a whole lot of poor defending from Everton, so they can complain about
shot of brilliance.
Oh, that was the furthest thing away from Jota Jam. That was just... Oh.
Victor came into my room about an hour before the game when the lineups came out. He's put his phone, slammed his phone onto the desk, pointed at Jota and being, why is this man starting today? And I actually agreed with him.
I thought it should have been Chiesa.
And I think Schlotter's his favourites. And I was starting to doubt him after he started Jota for
400 games in a row.
So many games in a row, and Jota was just out of form. Knowing we've got Chiesa who doesn't get utilised at all.
But look, Alex, what was we saying about Jota? We weren't saying that he's lost it. It was that he didn't look fit.
Yeah.
Naturally now, look, he has 2 weeks off. And now, boom, look, he's back and he looked sharp yesterday.
Yeah.
He looked the best of Jota yesterday, you know. And I personally think Jota and Jones are my man of the match shouts. The reason being, obviously, Jota scores the goal. But throughout the game, he stayed dangerous. Getting shots away throughout the game, obviously testing the keeper. Obviously, like I said, gets the goal. But he was really good yesterday and he was really important for what we done. And obviously, scoring the winner in the derby, that says it all. But yeah, I was really impressed with Jota again yesterday, and I think it's good to see him back to almost close to his best, because that finish was just unbelievable.
How many times have you seen Jota score that though?
It's like even the Fulham, when Robbo got sent off earlier in the season, he scored a similar goal where he fake shotted it first time, sent the defender and just put it in the corner.
And it's just such a trademark type Jota goal where he sent the keeper, sits the keeper down and shoots.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And
it reminds me of a goal where Firmino scored against Arsenal. He scored a hat-trick before at Anfield in 2019. Yeah, 2018-19, and he had one like that where he weaved in and out of two defenders, sat the keeper down, and just put it on the floor into the goal. So definitely brought some good memories back.
I mean, I was so glad to see him being so sharp, like you said. And
finally.
I thought I actually was starting to lose hope a little bit.
Yeah, same, naturally.
But, it's how it goes at such a top level.
And I think the same applies for Diaz. You know, he's been mega frustrating, but yesterday he was really important. Just getting the ball up the pitch. Obviously, gets the assist for the goal with the little back heel, and he was trying to make stuff happen. So,
but the amount of dribbles he made was amazing. He genuinely showed a bit of flair as well. And there was times where, do you remember when he was like going back and slowing down the play? We're like, why is he slowing down the play? All of a sudden, he's got two men on his back and he turns both of them and runs through. We're like, how has he created that from nothing? Do you know
it
what
was
I mean?
literally right by the dugout where the Everton manager was.
Exactly, and I'm thinking like, fair enough. I'm thinking he's killed the ball, but now he's gave us an even better chance. So fair dues to him.
As well, what I like from Diaz is that ball across the pitch. When he cuts in on his right and he can't find a shot, he always finds that sort of curved ball into Salah or the right back behind the winger. So that's like seems to be like a kind of important part of our build up when we're looking to break, switching the sides quickly, and obviously getting it to Salah, who can make magic happen. And on the word of Salah, he wasn't great again yesterday, was he?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, do you reckon this is something to do with his contract?
I think it's I don't know, because the thing is, I think it could just be tiredness. I think this is something we've seen with Salah a few times now, where he'll start the season really strong. 21-22 was the same. He started the season and everyone was on about Ballon d'Or winner, and by the end of the season it wasn't even a conversation anymore. And I just feel like, obviously, hitting the standards he did in the first half of the season, it was always going to be hard for him to keep it up. But obviously now, you know, when other players in your team aren't performing and can't score, the magnifying glass gets a lot closer to you, because you're meant to be the main man. So, you know, when Núñez, Jota and Diaz and Gakpo weren't scoring, all of a sudden all the media are on to, you know, Salah, who, of course, you can't score every game. I know he's been doing it this season for a long part, but you can't score every game. And that's when you need the others in your team to step up and, you know, show initiative and take the game by the scruff of the neck. And, you know, yesterday we had a good example of that. You know, Salah had a poor game, but, you know, Jota gets the goal, we come away with a 1-0, happy as you like. So it's important. As much as it is important for Salah to perform at a high level, it's also just as important that the others perform. And when they're not, of course, all the eyes will be on Salah. But, you know, I think that any sort of sane football fan could look here and go, well, yeah, he hasn't had the support he's needed around him for the last couple of weeks, and it happens. But you know, I'm sure he'll be back to scoring and shutting everyone up very soon. 100%. So
I think the only reason we're so harsh on him is because he's maintained such a standard for so long this season, and like you said, exactly what you said. It's hard for him to keep that and maintain that standard that he's set. But Yeah, I think there's positives to take from the game, but I think we should have handled it a bit better. I think we
Yeah, for
struggled way
sure.
too much.
We gave mainly first half. Second half, I don't think they caused us any problems. But
Yeah,
first half, it was a bit rough.
we was.
Obviously, the Van Dijk mistake for when Beto hits the post,
Yeah,
that looked comical. As much as obviously we
yeah,
praise Van Dijk over our time on
that
this
was poor.
podcast, that was so poor. It looked amateur.
Yeah,
To be fair.
to be fair, it was. I'm not sure. I think he's gone back to grassroots to pull that move out. To be
Yeah,
honest,
that was unbelievable.
but I think we played down to their level in that half.
But again, they were a lot rougher with us. Like, they were
Yeah,
getting stuck in, they were fouling, they were pushing, they were
yeah,
pulling at every opportunity, and I think it kind of threw us off a little bit. And then the second we try to give it back to them, it's a foul.
yeah,
And that was kind of the common theme throughout the game. And I think when you have a situation like that, you've got to think of the psychology of these players. Like, if you've just seen Tarkowski do that to McAllister and he's only got a yellow card, you're worried when you're running at that defender next time, because
yeah,
what if
yeah,
he breaks
yeah,
your
yeah.
leg? And the referee's going to look at it and go, yellow card to Liverpool. Nunes, fuck off. Red. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
so yeah, I think there was a lot, again, a bit like the game at Goodison, a lot of fouls. They tried to disrupt the game as much as possible, stop our flow, and it worked in the first half. They stuck to their game plan well, they did it well, but in the second half,
I
we
agree.
just seemed to get that momentum and that flow back, and, we really put them in the blender, really. We set up shop in their half and just kept them on the carousel, just kept passing it around. And of course, it didn't lead to maybe the goals we would have liked, but I don't care. 1-0 at this point of the season, 3 points is all that matters. And obviously, again, it's another 3 points closer to the title for us now. So I think it's 4 wins left before we lift the trophy. So yeah, very exciting
a lot of
times.
positives. Yeah, and one more thing, but it's quite a contrast of all the happiness of the title is I want to touch on Trent.
Yeah,
I think it is safe to say he's gone to Madrid.
Yeah.
I think it is confirmed now.
There's a part of me that is like telling myself every day, nah, he's not going. He's not. But
he's
he is,
going.
yeah, he is.
He's going. People have said, how can you not blame him? He's gone to Madrid. But that's not the problem that I have with it. I have the fact that he's run down the contract at his boyhood club. He's been there for probably about 16 years from academy level, all the way up. He's worked all the way up. He's broke through.
But that's just as much a FSG problem as it is a Trent problem. Why have we let it happen? Come to this.
I understand.
He shouldn't have been let have less than 2 years on his deal. A player like that, you never leave less than 2 years.
Yeah.
Because as soon as it comes to that point where, right, in a year, obviously, when you're like 6 months before your contract, you can discuss talks with other clubs. So that's what I mean. You never want to be getting down to that last year because all the power is in the player's court.
Yeah.
But for me, it's an FSG problem for allowing this to happen, because why haven't he been offered a deal earlier? Like, he's there for the long run.
Yeah.
With his age, should I say, because clearly mentally he isn't. But, his age would suggest that he's there for the long run.
Yeah.
Tie him down for the rest of his career, because in the time that he's already been here, he's shown you what he can do. And for me, it's always something that I'll blame FSG about. As much as we can put the emphasis on Trent, and of course, even if they haven't offered him a deal previously, he should still be staying. But for me, again, it's FSG, and I think that if the clubs run better, we never get into this situation. And
I agree.
Unfortunately, we are. So again, we're about 3 months away from Salah, Van Dijk, and Trent not being Liverpool players anymore.
Well, if we've sold Trent to Madrid for
100 mil,
80, 90 mil, I'm like, okay, I'll be sad that Trent's gone, but okay, fair enough. He's accepted Madrid.
We reinvest into the squad, no problem. But now,
because the way I see it, he's gone Madrid. Clearly, he wants to achieve more trophies, whatever, which he's pretty much guaranteed to win at Madrid. And okay, fair dues. I'll be upset because we don't have Trent anymore. But however, now he's left the club as a traitor to the general eye. Even if some fans don't believe it, believe that he is a traitor, the general public thinks that he is. So it's sad to see,
It
but
is.
it happens.
It's sad because Trent's been my favourite Liverpool player, for the past sort of
Yeah.
ever since that year that we won the Champions League. Obviously, before that, I remember his free kick at Hoffenheim away. That was really when I first sort of picked up on Trent, and ever since then, he's been one of my favourite players, if not my favourite.
Yeah.
So it's sad, but it's just a part of football, I guess. That's just how it goes, and hopefully we'll be able to. But again, I have no faith in FSG. We're gonna finish fucking 15th next season because these lot don't know what they're doing, bro.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I want to be positive because we're going to win the league and it's going to be great. We're going to go to the parade. It's going to be fantastic. But the thing is, I know this club and I know these owners and I know what's going to happen next. And that's going to be another painful wait for another title because they're not going to try to stay at the top. We already can't because Trent's gone. God knows what's happening with Van Dijk and Salah. And, you lose even one of them and already you're in a bad spot. So now lose all three, and that's sounding like relegation to me.
It's horrible. But I remember a few years back, you asked me if I wanted a player on my shirt, who would it be? And I said Salah, but you said, but Salah might leave in the summer, so you should, if anyone, you should probably get Trent. He's not leaving anytime soon. Now we're at a situation.
That's why I've got a Trent shirt as well, and
now
that was my exact thought process. Oh yeah, Trent's not leaving. This is a safe bet.
Yeah, and now
I'm gonna show my grandkids this. Am I fucked?
Now we're in a situation where most likely, if anybody were to stay, it's Salah and Trent's leaving. So it's sad. It's sad.
Anyway, should we get into the player ratings?
Yeah,
we've
can
run
do.
a bit over today, but it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Kelleher.
Well, the amount of pressure that he had, I don't think he had really much to do.
No, not really.
The amount, obviously Everton had their moment, but nothing really that.
Target,
yeah,
no.
exactly. So
yeah, Kelleher can have a 6. Let's go for a 7 because we've won today. So we'll give him a 7.
Sheet, yeah.
Jones at right back for me, 9.5. Probably our best player.
I think that's promising. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's really promising.
Let's not do this again.
Nah, but that is promising. Well, are you choosing him or Quansah at right back right now? But it's mad how we're having this debate.
I'd rather play right back. Honestly, but anyway.
Well, you think you're putting a better shift than Jones, yeah?
Yeah, nah.
Of course.
No chance. But yeah, Jones for me, 9.5, one of the best players on the pitch.
Yeah.
I think what summed up his performance was that clearance in the last minute where it's just going over his head and he just pops his leg out, kicks it behind him.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was so important because that could have been 1-1 in the last minute again, and we would have been sat here annoyed because we've conceded another late equaliser. But luckily, that wasn't the case. So
Verge, I think 6. I'm not gonna lie, maybe even a 5.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you.
Because I think that mistake, although it was one mistake, but it's so costly. Boom, they score, they go up first,
and the way they played with the low block,
exactly, it could have been we could have lost that game at Anfield. Can't be losing to Everton at Anfield. That is horrendous.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I think 5 or 6, something along that range is perfect.
But
for him.
Ebo, on the other hand, I think was quite good.
Yeah, I thought he played well.
I think both of them struggled with Beto, but I think again that was mainly first half. Second half, Beto really just seemed out of energy and a bit lethargic, and that helped our defenders as well. But yeah, so Ebo can hold a 7 from me. I think that's fair.
So
Robbo at left back. I don't really remember much of his performance.
I remember how he's had his back to the goal about a metre away where he could have passed it and he just shot and skied it. I remember that, and
that's about it.
Yeah,
but nah. To be fair, all credit to Robbo. His delivery was really good again yesterday.
Yeah.
He was really important for us, obviously linking up with Diaz on that left side and getting us up the pitch. So I'm happy with like a 6 or a 7.
Yeah. I think 7's fair. I mean, we can't just downplay his whole performance.
Gravenberch.
Yeah. I'm not really sure.
It was a weird game. Like he wasn't back to his very, very best, but he was
Yeah.
definitely better than he was before the international break.
Yeah.
Obviously, he picked up a knock, which I don't believe. I think Slot just wanted to rest him, and obviously he's got connections in the Dutch team, so I think that's what we saw there. But
Yeah.
obviously, him getting 2 weeks off was key, because he looked so tired and so lethargic before that. So
Yeah.
I think that really helped as well, and I think that he was back to sort of a better level, so I think he can get a 7 as well. And next to him, McAllister, I mean, bless his soul.
But apart from the fact of being absolutely murdered,
Yeah.
I don't think he played too bad.
No, but again, it wasn't nothing special. It's just
Yeah.
typical McAllister, just
Yeah, and
where
I
you
think-
need him, doing what you need him to do, and that's it.
And I think most of the teams like that, nothing too special, nothing poor. So
Szoboszlai, though, I wasn't impressed with. I don't
Nah.
think in the whole however many minutes he was on the pitch, he didn't really do anything that I thought
don't
was
really,
good.
I don't really remember many moments. From
No,
him,
not
to
at
be
all.
honest. So
So he can get a 6.
Yeah.
Salah as well, unfortunately, today I think gets a 6 as well.
yeah,
I think
I
Jota
agree.
can get a 9 for the goal,
Yeah,
and obviously
course.
probably the best attacker on the pitch.
I think he could have been man of the match, to be honest.
I personally give it to Jones.
All right, I'll give it to Jota to be different then.
And then Diaz, I think, gets a solid 8.
Yeah, I agree
Assist
with an 8. I
and,
mean, I was really
key.
impressed. Yeah, he was very key, like you said. It was just a good Luis Diaz performance. That's
Mhm.
just, if you could imagine a good
The only
Luis
thing
Diaz
we
performance
needed
is
more
that.
is maybe a goal to top it off. But yeah,
but
for a performance without a goal, it's as good as it gets. So
yeah,
8 for Diaz. And who did we even sub on yesterday? Endo came on for like 5 minutes.
yeah. That's
Again, he can
standard.
just get a 6, but when he does come on, he locks it down, which is
Nunes.
great. Nunes, I think, again,
I don't
if
think
the
he did that
referee
bad,
if
though.
the referee doesn't give the advantage on Szoboszlai for when Pickford wipes him out, he would have won a penalty.
and, he
And I
would've
think
had,
he
like, an 8.
deserved it. So I don't think he played bad at all.
Yeah,
His passing
neither.
was there, his dribbling was there, everything was okay. He had that shot quite late on that I encouraged him to shoot myself because the angle was nice. But Nunes can get a 7, I think.
Yeah.
Gakpo, again, only about a few minutes, so fairly limited. We'll give him a 6.
Yeah,
Who else came on?
I'm not sure.
Because Endo came on for Salah, Nunes for Jota, and Gakpo for Diaz, and I think that was all the substitutions we made last night.
Have a quick little check.
Let me have a look. So Diaz actually got the man of the match on FootMob.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so it was Endo, Gakpo, and Nunes. So
Okay.
I guess that's our player ratings done, and
Yeah, well, that's
the episode
the
done.
episode wrapped up.
So brilliant, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in again. It's been another great episode and another great win for Liverpool. So we'll look forward to seeing you after Fulham.
thank you.